Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. If you're new here, this is Guns and Gadgets, the premier source for Second Amendment news. And it's Second Amendment news that will make you think. A precursor here. As many of you know who've been around for a while, I don't care what party politicians belong to. If they do the right thing, I'll give them an attaboy. If they do the wrong thing, I'll call them out, try to hold people accountable. And sometimes that happens to the party that most people prefer when it comes to the Second Amendment. But I just don't believe in giving passes when it comes to a right, because every gun law is an infringement. So I want to give you an update that came out about the Reese versus ATF case that I reported on the other day. As a reminder, Reese was a case brought by, excuse the air conditioner, Second Amendment Foundation Firearms Policy Coalition, and the Louisiana Shooting Association, and they fought the under 21 ban for FFLs to transfer pistols, handguns. You can do it for long guns, just couldn't do it for handguns, and it's been something that's been challenged for a while now. And the case came out in our favor, said it was a violation of the Second Amendment, but the court in the order said that FPC, SAF, and LSA had a couple weeks to turn over their membership rolls that were effective, the date the lawsuit was filed back in 2020. It was November 6th, if I recall correctly. So when that came out, obviously, we put a lot of heat out on the DOJ, because they were seemingly in favor of that. And, I've said some good stuff about things where Pam Bondi has done good things here in the Department of Justice. I've also said some things where I was very critical about Pam Bondi when she's not doing things that should be done by a pro-gun Second Amendment favorable Department of Justice. And she's gotten some lumps this past week in other cases than just this one. And that led to a few things happening. One of the biggest ones, and I'll show you this order. There's things that you need to know, because unless you're plugged in, you probably don't know these things. But in follow-up to the heat that Pam Bondi and the DOJ got because of this, making gun groups turn over their roster, the rolls, a whole bunch of people got upset. Harmeet Dillon, who is phenomenally pro-2A, she is Pam Bondi's number 2. She's the head of the Civil Rights Division in the Department of Justice. Even she put out a response to a video that Dudley Brown over at National Association for Gun Rights did. He did an 11.5-minute video calling for the resignation of Pam Bondi. Now, look, if you live in Florida, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't live in Florida and you're one of the other 49 states, you might not know that Pam Bondi has never really been what we would call pro-2A. Some people think, so this is, you're going to see a line in the sand here. You got lawyers who will, sorry my hand is bleeding, but you'll see there are lawyers who will tell you how things happen in court and stuff like that. It's fine. And then you got people like how I've been doing this for 13 years. I'm going to give you the information straight with no filters. You make your own mind up. I'm not trying to convince you that person X is phenomenal or person Y is terrible. I'm just going to give you the information. If you think Pam Bondi is great, so be it. If you think she's terrible, so be it. But I'm going to give you the information unfiltered, without apology. So, Harmeet Dillon did a long tweet in response to Dudley Brown's video and called Pam like the most pro-2A AG ever, and said this was the most pro-2A DOJ ever. But they've done a lot of bad stuff. They've been defending a lot of bad stuff. So I don't want to hear anybody, but what's Pam? Would you rather have Kamala Harris? It's not a one or the other, okay? There are other people who could serve in that role and be phenomenally pro-2A. Andrew Bailey, friend of mine, should have had that job. However, I'm going to read you the joint, what's it called here? A joint motion to alter or amend the judgment. This came out where the DOJ and the parties in Reese et al., the individual plaintiffs as well as Firearms Policy Coalition, Second Amendment Foundation, and Louisiana Shooting Association, they got together, worked together, and came out with this and said, hey, Judge, this is what we think you should do because we both agree on this. This might change your opinion on Pam on this particular case. It might not, but I'm going to show it to you. It's like 4 paragraphs. Here it is. So this was filed on the 10th, which was 2 days ago as I'm recording this. This would be Friday. And it's Caleb Reese versus the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. And it says the parties hereby jointly move to amend this court's judgment, which was October 7th, in the following respects. To add the following underlined and bolded language to paragraph 2B and 2B, individuals and federally licensed firearms importers, manufacturers, dealers, or collectors who were members of the Firearms Policy Coalition, Inc., Second Amendment Foundation, or Louisiana Shooting Association at the time the action was filed on November 6, 2020, and who are identified by plaintiffs pursuant to paragraph 5. And paragraph 5 was where the court said you need to turn over your roles, and that's who these people would be covered under this ruling. Okay, I'll continue. And to alter the language of paragraph 5 to replace shall provide with may provide. Given the urgency of the issues raised by the court's judgment, the parties respectfully request the ruling on this motion on or before October 14th, 2025, that would be Tuesday. In support of this motion, the parties state, 1, the court's judgment compels plaintiffs to disclose their membership as of November 6, 2020, to the government by October 28, 2025. Here's the big one, number 2. The government, as a general policy, does not compel disclosure of the identity of members of private organizations, and the government did not seek to do so here. But I'll bring your attention to the cases of like bump stocks and pistol braces, when the government said, look, if we don't know who the members are, how do we know who's covered by these injunctions? Specifically, when the court gave out injunctions for all members of GOA and FPC and SAF and NRA. Like, they were like, how do we know who it is if we don't have a list? So I might call phooey on this one, where the government in general doesn't ask for that. They've kind of done it before, tongue in cheek. But again, you decide. Number 3, the plaintiffs assert that the judgment's order compelling them to disclose their membership violates the First Amendment and would subject them to irreparable harm. Number 4, to be clear, plaintiffs do not concede that altering the judgment in this way would make its scope appropriate, and plaintiffs retain their right to challenge all aspects of the judgment on appeal. However, in the absence of the proposed amendment, plaintiffs face an imminent deadline compelling the disclosure of their membership information. 5, to avoid the need for plaintiffs to file an emergency motion to stay the disclosure deadline, the parties respectfully request that the court act on this motion by October 14, 2025. And this was signed by everybody involved in the case, including the Assistant Attorney General, Brett Shoemate. So they're all saying, look, Judge, let's fix this. But my question is, and question for you, sound off down below, would this have happened if the community did not go up in arms, irate about the DOJ looking to take the membership information of SAF, LSA, and FPC? They didn't do this before when they were tongue-in-cheek saying, hey, Your Honor, we don't know who's on in these groups, who's on these lists, who's a member or not. Wink, wink, not. They even did it in the FRTs when they had to return them because they were illegally seizing people's property. The government was stealing people's property. And they were saying, well, how do we know who a member of NAGR is if we don't have the list? So the government's done it before. I think number 2 here is dishonest to say that. But this is what was filed. You tell me, does it change your opinion? Again, I am not married to a president, a politician. I don't care the party. I'm not married to the party. I'm married to the United States Constitution. And if something is violative of the Constitution, and these people are politicians who are representatives or hold a constitutional office or take a constitutional oath, and they don't follow it, I don't care who they are. I will call them out. Jared's been doing it for 13 years. Jared's going to continue to do it. If you don't like that, I apologize. Then we have a difference of opinion, which is great. This is America. We can do that. But I appreciate y'all. This is the update on the Reese case. If the judge rules tomorrow, maybe not. Tomorrow is Columbus Day, so all courts should be closed. If the judge rules on it Tuesday, the 14th, I'll tell you. So please subscribe to the channel down below. And for some reason, I've had a bunch of videos. This is how YouTube works, a little back scene here. YouTube doesn't like something you say, even though you don't violate any rules or policies. They can demonetize your video, which then stops the momentum of your channel and affects your channel for several weeks after the fact, even though I win the appeal. So that's happened. I pissed them off with a couple of videos last week, won the appeals, but the channel's been suffering for reach-wise. So basically all that to tell you that they still, even though YouTube said they were going to be more pro First Amendment free speech, it's not playing out in our space. So I need your help just by liking the videos, sharing the videos, commenting on the videos, and of course, check your subscription, subscribe to Guns and Gadgets to show this conglomerate that people have a need for this information. People want to know the truth about the Second Amendment, okay? Now, that's that. Make up your own minds. We are adults. This is America. We can still do that. I appreciate y'all from the bottom of my heart. Appreciate y'all. Be safe, stay vigilant, carry a gun to keep you, your friends, your family, your community safe. Check out my buddy Valor Ridge up there in Harrogate, Tennessee, Reed Hendricks and his wife Rachel. They are phenomenal people. They will teach you right. They will train you up. Doesn't matter what skill level you are. Check them out. Great school over there. Y'all have a great day. Take care.